Hey everybody, welcome back. Grab a coffee, grab a tea, whatever you prefer. There's a couple of things that I want to touch on today that I haven't yet. And I think it goes back to the beginning and the basics of how to pick out your yarn, what to look for, and why you're using the stitches that you're using in your project. Now, I showed you this before, and this is just a generic 1 pound skein of yarn so that I can make several different projects out of it. This is the scarf, and I'm a scarf lover. I wear scarves all the time. See how this stretches? So the reason you're using the stitches that you're using, and these are half double crochets and double crochets, because this is your double crochet cluster right here, or your 3 double crochets. It's so that it's breathable. You don't want to do a scarf in all single crochets because it'll be too tight together. I personally, with all of my scarves, I want them to breathe. And I want the yarn to be a little stretchy. With that being said, this here is crochet cotton or crochet thread. There's no give to it. You can't, it's like string. And I use this specifically for my tablecloths and my doilies so that it keeps its shape. Let me see. One of my favorite yarns, Cairns. This here, I buy them because they have such beautiful colors. And purple is my favorite color, and I love it with yellow. And I'm going to make a scarf out of this. And it pools, which means you start out with the yellow and it goes around and it makes stripes, which is the coolest thing. I got hooked on this years ago, the pooling type of yarn, because I made socks that they said that the yarn would pool, and they came out amazing. I wore them out, but time to make me a new pair. And this here, it caught my eye. I'm not sure what I'm going to make with it. Maybe a hat. Excuse me. And this, I make chemo caps, and I try to send them to Boston or bring them up to the hospital so that they can have them. But this, with hats like this, you want to make sure that they're all single crocheted so that if a child is wearing it during the winter, their head will be warm. Now, this part here, the brim, it's all shell stitch. They're double crochets, which is fine because it's not at the top of their head. But I've made dozens and dozens of these, and people just love them. I made a bucket hat. Now these here are half double crochets. It's all in the stitch. And this is a softer weight yarn. Kind of like the Karen Cake yarn that I just showed you. And it's soft. And I think this one's been sold. I'm not quite sure yet. And then I had this because this is a baby blanket project that I'm going to work on for a friend of mine. There is absolutely no give. When you pull it, there's no give to it. And it's nice and soft. And with baby blankets, I also like the loops and threads yarn. It's great for babies. And you don't want like big gaps. If you're doing something for a baby, you don't want big gaps in between your stitches. So it'll either be a single crochet or a half double crochet, which are smaller, not the big, long treble, double trebles, stuff like that. Because you don't want the baby to get their feet or hands, arms, or legs stuck, because that wouldn't be good. Now I have this here, and my favorite crochet cotton is Aunt Lydia's. This is the best, and I have every color under the rainbow of Aunt Lydia's. Now, this particular skein here is a little bit thicker than this here, because this is made for clothing. I have a pattern for a wedding dress that I used this with. It was kind of a disaster. So with that being said, I went out. I actually bought this online because I wanted to see how well it did, and there's no comparison. This is the best. With the hats, my mom had some skin cancer removed from her head this summer, and her doctor told her that she needed to start wearing a hat outside if she was going to be doing any yard work or anything like that. So I said, oh, I'll make her a hat. I looked high and low for, I knew the pattern that I wanted to make. I just couldn't find the thread. This here is called raffia. Some people call it raffia yarn. It's really not yarn. It's like thread. But if you know what raffia is, it's like a grass. This stuff here, the hats will hold their shape. They're breathable. And they won't make your head hot, which is good, because my mom doesn't like wearing hats. I love wearing hats. They make my head itch. So I make sure I find the yarn that I would wear, so that in hopes somebody else will find it nice to wear as well. This yarn here that we're making our blanket out of, the stitches are this way so that you don't have huge gaps in between. Some things you're gonna have, it's gonna call for it, and that's okay. Your blankets and such, you don't want huge gaps in between your stitches, because you don't want people getting stuck in your blankets and you know, hurting themselves, because you could hurt yourself doing that. So check your yarn. Let me see. This one here is a size 6. It's big. Like I said, I'm not used to doing anything with yarn. I mostly work with the crochet cotton. I'm going to make a scarf out of this. Now, scarves during the summer, this is a size 4. For your summer scarves and stuff, your stitches may be a little bit spaced, which is fine, because you don't want a winter scarf during the summer, obviously. So I always pick a smaller gauge yarn, and sometimes I follow patterns, sometimes I don't. It all depends. But for summer stuff, your sweaters and stuff are going to be smaller stitches, because you don't want to see through them. I mean, I wear a cami underneath my summer sweaters that I've made, and that's fine. But you don't want them to get hooked in your jewelry or anywhere, because it could rip it. That's why in the patterns they're using the stitches so that the smaller stitches are going to bring your work together so that it doesn't get stuck and doesn't get caught on your jewelry, whatever. So that's one of the points that I wanted to make. Go out and just shop. Look at yarns. Feel them. Feel the texture. Because that's what I do. And I base my decisions on how it feels. If it's soft, and a nice color, whatever, I'll tend to go towards that, like the Cairns, because I like making hats and scarves out of this. There's a scarf pattern right there. And a lot of them will come with a pattern. I made my aunt a hat out of the Cairn, and she loved it. She wore it all winter long. So feel the texture of the yarn. I picked this. I knew I needed a size 6 for the project that I'm doing. So I found the size 6. And then I just went through the store and we're looking at skeins of yarn. And I said, oh, I like this. I like the way it feels. It's great for a baby. Is it the right size? Sure enough, it was the right size, so I bought that. He's gonna be quite warm, I think. I hope. So when there's, like I said, there's a lot of yarns out there. So don't grab just what they suggest in your project. Shop around. If you have the size yarn that you know you need, the world is your oyster, and you can pick from any brand of yarn, just as long as it's the right size and you have the right size crochet hook, because that's very important too. So somebody asked me, what yarn is best for what project? So, like I said, with there being so many yarns out there, shop around. The best, I want to say the best yarn for like winter scarves, winter hats is always, not so much the scarves, but the hats, always a thicker 6-7 weight yarn, just so that it keeps your head warm, or your child, or whoever you're making it for. If it's yourself, check and see. If it's for a child, I always tend to go with a thicker weight yarn, just because it will keep them warmer. Now, for summer clothing, I tend to go with a lighter yarn. Let me see. Well, Karen makes, oh, I don't have one, darn it. I tend to go with a lighter weight yarn, only because it is summer, spring, summer, whatever. I bought this online just because I liked it. I wasn't sure what I was going to make with this. I have 4 or 5 of these. You can make a sweater out of this, and it's fine. It's lightweight. It's got a little bit of wool in it. Not a lot. I don't think it would be too itchy. But even for like a fall autumnal scarf, maybe a vest, sweater, I tend to pick my yarn and then pick my project. A lot of times I just wing it off the top of my head. I see something that I like, and I say, okay, well, I like the shape, I like the colors. How can I make this mine? So I'll experiment with the different stitches, depending on what season, what I'm making. My summer scarves usually tend to be a little more spaced, only because I want my summer scarves to be breathable too. So I don't use huge stitches, just like double crochets, half double crochets, depending on what I see for a pattern or what my personal preference is. So play around, but always make sure that your yarn is the right gauge, the right size. And then I can spend days in Michael's. And I had an aunt. We used to call ourselves the Yarn Sisters. Because she would go in, she'd go her way, find her yarn, and then I'd go my way and find my yarn. And we come back together, we compare. Well, what are you going to make with that? What are you going to make with that? So she would always go for the sugar and cream, because she would make dishcloths to sell. She'd give them to her son-in-law to sell at bazaars and church functions. I have a few of them that she made for me, which I treasure because my aunt is gone now. But like I said, just feel your yarn. The project that I'm making with this did not call for this yarn. It called for the size 6, which is right there, but not this yarn in particular. I liked it because it's going to be made for a baby, and it's very soft and very squishy. And feel your yarn. If it's something you'd like, then it's probably something somebody else is going to like. But yeah, shop around. I bought this off Amazon only because I went from store to store to store and could not find, for the life of me, any raffia. I went into one store and I said, "Do you have any raffia yarn?" And the girl looked at me like, "What?" I went, "Okay, apparently you don't." Said, "Thanks, I'll go look someplace else." So I bought that off Amazon, and it comes in so many colors. It's just amazing. I can't wait to make more sun hats, which I will do this winter. So I have some in the spring and in the summer if people want them. For your granny squares, you can use whatever yarn you have left over, which they make. Your scrap yarn makes amazing granny squares. But just use a generic 3 or 4 yarn. I usually buy the 1 pound yarns to make big projects, so that I know, like our blanket, and it's just a generic yarn, which is fine. There's, like I said, there's all kinds of yarns out there, from, you know, minimal to very high end, which make spectacular things. Just test. Go through and test. Read your pattern, the materials in your pattern, and whatever size yarn it says doesn't necessarily have to be the yarn that's in your project. Feel it. If it's a blanket, feel the yarn. If it's nice and soft, If it's not too scratchy, because you don't want a blanket that's too scratchy. But something you'd think somebody's just gonna curl up in. If you would, the person that you're making it for will definitely. And I find that if I don't hand make something for my family members for Christmas, they get very angry with me. And I take great joy in making things for my family members and watching them open them up at Christmas time. Now, my sister will send me patterns for weird things because she knows I'll make them. I started out knitting penguin sweaters about 14, 15 years ago. That was a lot of fun. She just sends me all these crazy patterns for all these weird things because she knows I'll try it. Chicken sweaters, sweaters for baby goats. I've made it all. And it was so much fun. I had so much fun doing it. So getting back to the granny squares, make sure that it's all the same size yarn that you're using for the granny square. And those are usually made with 3 double crochets, which is fine. Let me show you. This one here. I said, you know what? I'm going to try a granny square with crochet cotton. And that's how it came out. It's beautiful. I love it. I was very surprised. It was an experiment of sorts because I've never used crochet cotton for a granny square ever. And I fell in love. So I'm gonna be making more. I'm gonna be making a do-rag out of it, so stay tuned to see that. It should be really cool. So if you have any questions about stitches, why you use the stitches that you use in a project, leave me a comment and ask. I'd be more than happy to explain to you why. Yeah, it's kind of important for your project. I guess that was all the questions that I had. So, like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free. And I'll explain it to you. So, yeah. Have a great day. And I'll see you again really soon. Peace.